One thing that's really, really frustrating about comic books is when they see there's a problem, if they see that something isn't working, they never go, wait, why isn't it working? We need to pivot and do something else because this is actually going to break the franchise. They actually turn into the iceberg, Titanic style, and decide to sink the entire ship. Today, I'm going to talk about Kevin Feige, who's actually looking at the biggest problem facing Marvel Studios today. The MCU, especially after Phase 4, is not so in vogue anymore. It's not so hot. In fact, it's a whole pile of crap for the most part, although it does sound like a lot of people are enjoying Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 for what it is. But for the most part, it hasn't been good, and it's been because the writing has been very, very substandard. For some reason, Disney decided, well, the MCU is really, really successful. Let's have Kevin Feige go out there and hire everybody in the world who's never actually written a successful TV show or movie, bring them into the MCU as long as they check the right diversity checkboxes. And they were doing the exact same thing with the directors. And then we got really substandard product for the most part across the board. He's going to fix it. And this comes from Scooper Jeff Snyder during a recent appearance on the Hot Mic podcast. And he said, Marvel's got a secret hiding in plain sight. The secret is that they know their movies are not that good. They know that the scripts in particular have been pretty bad. And that's why if you've been paying attention the last few weeks or months, you will note that Marvel have been spending a lot more money on writers, later adding, they're not going out to the newbie writers anymore. They're going out to some heavy hitters for writers. That's the Marvel secret that no one has talked about yet. They are now paying for writers because they realize these effing scripts got to get better because our audience is going to turn on us. It used to be every single MCU movie felt like an event because it was all building up to something. There was quality basically across the board. Kevin Feige was taking risks here and there, but they're always calculated risks. Yes, James Gunn hadn't really done a big movie or franchise within Hollywood, but he had made superhero movies, and he had a distinct point of view when it came to superheroes. Sure, the Russo brothers had never done a big action flick, but they had been successful in television. They had done an ensemble cast. It made sense that you would have these guys on a track to end up going and doing something as big as the Avengers movies that ended up blowing the whole thing off. Remember when they brought in like a Kenneth Branagh? Who would have thought Kenneth Branagh would be able to direct a superhero movie? He's like a Shakespearean actor and director and stuff like that. Fit right in there because he had a specific point of view, but he was also a veteran movie director and knew what he was doing. And they brought in really good writers to create these scripts. They have lost that, I don't know, for like 2 or 3 years now. They are going back to it. Jeff Snyder was talking about that on the podcast there. And we do have actual information to back this rumor up because it's plain as day if you see what Marvel's been doing lately, that they are going out of their way to find better writers. The first example being the new writer on Blade. Blade currently has a script from Michael Starberry, who earned an Emmy nomination for penning an episode of the Ava DuVernay drama When They See Us. Sources say Nick Pizzolatto is working on Starberry's draft and has been keyboarding for a few weeks now. Pizzolatto was a novelist and short story writer before transitioning on screenwriting and became a known name thanks to True Detective, the acclaimed crime series that airs on HBO. And I will say this, the first season of True Detective is one of the best seasons of television I've ever watched in my life. What a mystery he built there. Like everything is all building towards something, and you bought into the characters where you had the Woody Harrelson thing working off the Matthew McConaughey thing, and is one of them dirty? You know, how is this all going to end? And you got to the ending, and it was pretty satisfactory. I think it could have been a little bit better, but for the most part, that is a great season of television. Well, after that, I would say True Detective sucks, specifically season 2, where I noped out. My goodness, I feel bad for the guy that played John Carter of Mars. They wanted him to be like this big movie star, and they just kept giving him the worst roles in the world. He never stood a chance, and his role in season 2 of True Detective just burned any bridge he had to Hollywood after that. That thing sucked, but at least there is a history of success, and Blade is a big-time production. This is a movie that MCU fans are actually looking forward to, or at least they were before everyone found out about the behind-the-scenes turmoil that was happening, specifically with the star and the script not being up to snuff, and then basically just halting everything and saying, screw it, we're not moving forward on production until we get some things right with this. Well, they've gone out there and they've decided to get somebody that's actually created something, written something that was important, that was good, that was quality, that has some name cachet associated with it. That's certainly much better than somebody that wrote an episode of Ava DuVernay's show that no one watched ever in their life. Blade is important. The first movie already made tons and tons of money, obviously with Wesley Snipes back in the day, and really gave them the idea that the MCU could even be a possibility moving forward. They need to get a good writer on that. It's good to see that they brought someone else new in there, because we do know that Mahershala Ali was not happy with that script whatsoever. And I do believe the MCU is counting on him to being kind of one of the big name actors moving the MCU forward past like phases 5 and 6. The other big one would be the Fantastic Four. Marvel's first family is getting a rewrite from Josh Friedman. Jeff Kaplan and Ian Springer were the previous writers on the project, and Friedman's hire signals a potential change in tone. Kaplan and Springer are neophyte scribes known for their comedy scripts. Friedman, on the other hand, is a veteran of the sci-fi genre. He co-wrote War of the Worlds, the Steven Spielberg-Tom Cruise update on the H.G. Wells classic, and then acted as the writer-creator on Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Years later, he would return to work on 2019's Terminator Dark Fate, and was one of the writers Cameron turned to help in world building and crafting stories for his multi-movie Avatar franchise. And he adapted for the small screen Snowpiercer, TNT's take on Bong Joon-ho's sci-fi movie, although he left the show over creative differences. Now we're talking somebody that's actually worked with some real star people, that's actually been associated with blockbuster franchises and really, really talented directors. The Fantastic Four is even more important than Blade. We have never gotten a good Fantastic Four movie, and the Fantastic Four outside of X-Men are the next really big bullets as far as things we haven't seen in the MCU that are going to bring a lot of people in. A lot of people love the Fantastic Four. Bringing someone associated with not only War of the Worlds, working with Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise, what we're talking about somebody that's worked with James Cameron, one of the most successful directors in the history of the world, but he was also the writer-creator of Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. The last good thing we've had associated with Terminator in any form whatsoever. We're talking about movies, television, video games. That's the last one we had that was good, and that was actually really, really good. It's unfortunate that the TV show was so expensive they couldn't keep going on with it, but they cast a really good group of actors in that one. It felt like Terminator. That stuff was really good. It's really smart to go out there and invest heavily and find somebody that's a known quantity and put them on Fantastic Four. Somebody that's actually worked with really good, talented people within Hollywood, and hopefully they bring that with them into the MCU, and they start raising the bar and expectations on what an MCU script can be after Phase 4. It was so bad across the board. It wasn't just the movies, it was the streaming shows as well. Yes, there were a couple of diamonds in the rough here and there, maybe an episode or two that were actually pretty competently done, but for the most part, it was just a giant pile of dog shit across the board, outside of like Spider-Man No Way Home, and that's not even like a Disney movie. That's a Sony movie that happens to take place within the MCU. Kevin Feige needs to rehab his image when it comes to him being the public face of the MCU. This is how you do it. You actually go out there and find the best people available, attach them to your projects, and actually make good movies again. You actually can't just put any Tom, Dick, and Harry that happens to check a diversity box, throw them on your project because you're casting them based on their race or gender or sexual preference or whatever with the characters that you want to present in the movie, and just believe that it's going to be a big blockbuster anymore. That's not what the MCU is right now. If people aren't excited about the project, if they're extremely skeptical about who you've hired to bring on board and bring this to life, they're probably not going to check it out. They're going to skip on it. Maybe they'll wait for it to come out on Disney+. Kevin Feige and the MCU are also taking a chance on another smaller scale project, but with a writer that's starting to make some headway when it comes to Hollywood in the Thunderbolts. Lee Sung-jin, creator and showrunner of Netflix's Beef, has taken on writing duties for Marvel's upcoming Thunderbolts. Lee has previously written for Tuca and Birdie, Dave, and Silicon Valley. Thunderbolts will be his first writing credit on a produced feature film. Thunderbolts is expected to begin shooting in June and is scheduled for release in July 26, 2024. Marvel veteran Eric Pearson from Black Widow and Thor Ragnarok fame did a first pass on the scripts. Well, I think it's probably pretty smart that they found somebody else to do another pass on the scripts. And yes, this isn't a big name. This isn't somebody that's been really established in Hollywood, but he's kind of got some momentum right now. People have been watching Beef. They seem to kind of like it. It is a different take on this. And the Thunderbolts aren't the Fantastic Four. The Thunderbolts aren't Blade. They're much more akin to like Guardians of the Galaxy, although we know who these characters are, but most of them haven't actually been in like good movies yet. Throw somebody else that's new in there, maybe have a different point of view, give us a different style of movie, and you take a little chance on the lesser known, lesser important franchise movie in Thunderbolts. This is smart planning. This is a good strategy for Kevin Feige to get back in the good graces of MCU fans when they actually start delivering good movies again. And maybe Thunderbolts will be the next Guardians of the Galaxy, where you didn't really see it coming, but then all of a sudden it turns out James Gunn is on Guardians of the Galaxy. He has a great vision for it. People love it. It has a style that feels unique. Maybe Lee Sung-jin has that to go for Thunderbolts as well, and hopefully you build up a new franchise there, while you're also putting really established veterans, good writers, good directors, the best creative people you can find on Fantastic Four and Blade. Unlike 5 or 6 years ago, Kevin Feige is not in an enviable position right now. He's dug a hole for Marvel Studios and himself that they're going to have to get out of. There's not a lot of hype involved with the MCU right now. Not a lot of people believe in the direction of the MCU going forward, and it's definitely put him in a really bad place as far as the MCU goes moving forward. If you haven't seen this video, you need to check it out right now. Talking about Kevin Feige, the future of the MCU, and the problems that it has. There's also a link in the video description.